there are many names of Japan in English, Japanese, and other languages. The word Japan is an exonym, and is used by a large number of languages. The Japanese names for Japan are Nippon and Nihon. They are both written in Japanese using the kanji, zeta. History. Both Nippon and Nihon literally mean the sun's origin, that is, where the sun originates, and are often translated as the land of the rising sun. This nomenclature comes from imperial correspondence with the Chinese Sui dynasty and refers to Japan's eastern position relative to China. Before Nihon came into official use, Japan was known as Wei or Wakokyu. Wei was a name early China used to refer to an ethnic group living in Japan around the time of the Three Kingdoms period. Although the etymological origins of Wei remain uncertain, Chinese historical texts recorded an ancient people residing in the Japanese archipelago, named something like E1/4 Wa cent or E1/4 Wi unregistered trademark or €. Carr surveys prevalent proposals for Wa's etymology ranging from feasible to shameful, and summarizes interpretations for E1/4 Wa cent Japanese into variations on two etymologies, behaviorally submissive or physically short. The first submissive, obedient explanation began with the Shao and Jizzy dictionary. It defines a euro as Sha to the first Maoecsh florin obedient docile appearance, graphically explains the person. Human radical with a warrior section bent phonetic, and quotes the above Xi Jing poem. Conceivably, when Chinese first met Japanese, Carr suggests they transcribed Wa as E1/4 Wa cent bent back signifying compliant bowing obeisance. Bowing is noted in early historical references to Japan. Examples include respect is shown by squatting, and they either squat or kneel, with both hands on the ground. This is the way they show respect. Koji Nakayama interprets Wa euro paragraph winding as very far away, and euphemistically translates Wa euro as separated from the continent. The second etymology of Wa euro meaning dwarf, pygmy has possible cognates and CIC registered trademark low, short, Wa strain, sprain, bent legs, and Wa squared en lie down, crouch, sit. Early Chinese dynastic histories refer to as Zarago a cubed a three-quarters or pygmy dwarf country located south of Japan, associated with possibly Okinawa Island or the Ryukyu Islands. Carr cites the historical precedents of construing Wa as submissive people, and the country of dwarfs legend as evidence that the little people etymology was a secondary development. Chinese, Korean, and Japanese scribes regularly wrote Wa or Yamato Japan with the Chinese character euro until the 8th century, when the Japanese found fault with it, replacing it with no harmony, peace, balance. Retroactively, this character was adopted in Japan to refer to the country itself, often combined with the character a, literally meaning great, so as to write the pre-existing name Yamato. However, the pronunciation Yamato cannot be formed from the sounds of its constituent characters. It refers to a place in Japan and is speculated to originally mean mountain gate. Other original names in Chinese texts include Yamatai country, where a Queen Himiko lived. When Hinomoto, the indigenous Japanese way of saying sun's origin, was written in kanji, it was given the characters e, zeta a. In time, these characters began to be read using Sino-Japanese readings, first Nippon and later Nihon. Nippon appeared in history only at the end of the 7th century. Old Book of Tang, one of the 24 histories, stated that the Japanese envoy disliked his country's name Wokyuo, and changed it to Nippon, or origin of the sun. Another 8th century chronicle, True Meaning of Shiji, however, states that the Chinese Empress Wu Zetian ordered a Japanese envoy to change the country's name to Nippon. The sun plays an important role in Japanese mythology and religion as the emperor is said to be the direct descendant of the sun goddess Amaterasu, and the legitimacy of the ruling house rested on this divine appointment and descent from the chief deity of the predominant Shinto religion. The name of the country reflects this central importance of the sun. The English word for Japan came to the West from early trade routes. The early Mandarin Chinese or possibly Wu Chinese word for Japan was recorded by Marco Polo as Saipangu. The modern Shanghainese or Topolect, pronunciation of characters e, Zeta A is still Zepan, Z unregistered trademark E Pay unregistered trademark N. The Malay and Indonesian words Jepang, Jaipang, and Japon were borrowed from Chinese dialects, and this Malay word was encountered by Portuguese traders in Malacca in the 16th century. It is thought the Portuguese traders were the first to bring the word to Europe. It was first recorded in English in 1577 spelled Jayapan. In English, the modern official title of the country is simply Japan, one of the few nation-states to have no long-form name. The official Japanese language name is Nippon Kokyu or Nihon Kokyu, literally State of Japan. From the Meiji Restoration until the end of World War II, the full title of Japan was the Empire of Greater Japan. A more poetic rendering of the name of Japan during this period was Empire of the Sun. The official name of the nation was changed after the adoption of the post-war constitution. The title State of Japan is sometimes used as a colloquial modern-day equivalent. As an adjective, the term Dai Nippon remains popular with Japanese governmental, commercial, or social organizations whose reach extend beyond Japan's geographic borders. Though Nippon or Nihon are still by far the most popular names for Japan from within the country, recently the foreign words Japan and even Jaipanga have been used in Japanese mostly for the purpose of foreign branding. Historical: Portuguese missionaries arrived in Japan at the end of the 16th century. In the course of learning Japanese, they created several grammars and dictionaries of Middle Japanese. The 1603–1604 Dictionary Vocabulario da Língua de Iapam contains 2 entries for Japan, Nifon and Iapon. The title of the dictionary illustrates that the Portuguese word for Japan was by that time Iapam. Nifon. Historically, Japanese has undergone a number of phonological changes. Originally, P, this weakened into E, and eventually became the modern H. Note that modern is still pronounced E, when followed by Middle Japanese Nifon becomes modern Japanese Nihon via regular phonological changes. Jipon. Prior to modern styles of romanization, the Portuguese devised their own. In it, is written as either E or G. In modern Hepburn style, Iapon would be rendered as Jipon. There are no historical phonological changes to take into account here. Etymologically, Jipon is similar to Nippon in that it is an alternative reading of E, Zeta A. The initial character E, yen may also be read as or. Compounded with fun, this regularly becomes Jipon. Unlike the Nihon-Nippon doublet, there is no evidence for a jian. Nihon and Nippon, the Japanese name for Japan, E, Zeta A, can be pronounced either Nihon or Nippon. Both readings come from the onyomi, E, yen means sun, or day. Io means base, or origin. The compound means base of the sun, or sunrise. It is of course a source for the popular Western description of Japan as the land of the rising sun. Nichi, in compounds, often loses the final chi and creates a slight pause between the first and second syllables of the compound. When romanized, this pause is represented by a doubling of the first consonant of the second syllable. Thus Nichi, yen plus ka permel is written and pronounced nika, meaning sunlight. The initial consonant of non-initial syllables in compounds often becomes voiced in Japanese, in a process called rindaku. Non-initial on in compounds thus often changes to bon or pon. There are therefore 2 possible pronunciations for E, Zeta A, Nihon or Nippon. While both pronunciations are correct, Nippon is frequently preferred for official purposes, including money, stamps, and international sporting events, as well as the Nippon Kokyu, literally the state of Japan. Other than this, there seem to be no fixed rules for choosing one pronunciation over the other. In some cases one form is simply more common. For example, Japanese speakers generally call their language Nihongo. Nippongo, while possible, is rare. In other cases, uses are variable. The name for the Bank of Japan, for example, is given as Nippon Ginko on banknotes, but often referred to as Nihon Ginka. Nippon is used always or most often in the following constructions: Nippon ya bin, Nippon ya seri, Ganba Nippon. Zen Nippon Kayuka Bashiki Gaisha, Nippon Bashi, Nippon Kagaku Kagyakubushi Kagesha, which is known since 1988 as the Nikon Corporation since the Nikon brand name was used on its camera product line. Nihon is used always or most often in the following constructions: Junior Higashi Nihon, Nihonbashi, Nihon Daigaku, Nihongo, Nihonjin, Nihonkai, Nihonkaka, Nihon Shoki. Jaipangu. As mentioned above, the English word Japan has a circuitous derivation. But linguists believe it derives in part from the Portuguese recording of the early Mandarin Chinese or Wu Chinese word for Japan, Sipan, which is rendered in pinyin as Rabian, and literally translates to sun origin. Gue cubed is Chinese for realm, or kingdom, so it could alternatively be rendered as Sipan Guo. The word was likely introduced to Portuguese through the Malay Jaipang. Saipangu was first mentioned in Europe in the accounts of the travels of Marco Polo. It appears for the first time on a European map with the Fra Mauro map in 1457, although it appears much earlier on Chinese and Korean maps such as the Gyeongnam-do. Following the accounts of Marco Polo, Saipangu was thought to be fabulously rich in silver and gold, which in medieval times was largely correct, owing to the volcanism of the islands and the possibility to access precious ores without resorting to deep mining technologies. The Dutch name, Yatpun, is derived from the southern Chinese pronunciation of e, zeta a, Yatpun or Yatpun. The Dutch J is generally pronounced Y, hence Japun. The modern Shanghainese pronunciation of Japan is Zepan, Z unregistered trademark E Pei unregistered trademark N. In modern Japanese, Saipangu is transliterated as Aa Florina Florin cubed a degree, which in turn can be transliterated into English as Jaipangu, Zaipangu, Jaipang, or Zaipang. Jaipangu is an obfuscated name for Japan has recently come into vogue for Japanese films, anime, video games, etc. Other names. Classical names equals. These names were invented after the introduction of Chinese into the language, and they show up in historical texts for prehistoric legendary dates and also in names of gods and Japanese emperors, Oeyashima meaning the great country of 8 islands, Aiji, Iyo, Oki, Tsukushi, Ki, Tsushima, Sado, and Yamato. Note that Hokkaido, Tsushima, and Okinawa were not part of Japan in ancient times. The 8 islands refers to the creation of the main 8 islands of Japan by the gods Izanami and Izanagi in Japanese mythology, as well as the fact that 8 was a synonym for many. Yashima, 8 islands, Fusamizuo refers to ears of grain, for example CC copyright A1/2 Mizuo no Kuni country of lush ears. From Old Japanese Midu Japanese Mizu plus Old Japanese Fo Japanese Ho. Shikishima is written with Chinese characters that suggest a meaning islands that one has spread laid out, but this name of Japan supposedly originates in the name of an area in Shiki district of Yamato province in which some emperors of ancient Japan resided. The name of Shikishima came to be used in Japanese poetry as an epithet for the province of Yamato, and was metonymically extended to refer to the entire island of Yamato and, eventually, to the entire territory of Japan. Note that the word shima, though generally meaning only island in Japanese, also means area, zone, territory in many languages of the Ryukyu Islands. Akitsukuni, Akitsushima, Toyo Akitsushima. According to the literal meanings of the Chinese characters used to transcribe these names of Japan, Toyo means abundant, Akai means autumn, Tsu means harbor, Shima means island, and Kuni means country, land. In this context, Tsu may be interpreted to be a fossilized genitive case suffix, as in Matsuj-i lash,